Okay, returning back to the microphone. So my name is Abdalrahman Hwoij. I actually hold master degree in cybersecurity and digital criminology and currently studying master degree in computational data science. Also, I'm a security specialist at Alto Adige Informatica, SIAG, with more than 5 years of experience in cybersecurity in general, and also published research in cybersecurity and data-related fields, and holding a lot of certificates on field from multiple vendors like Palo Alto, Fortinet, if you heard about those companies before. The most famous one may be Cisco. It's one of the biggest on the network field. So my agenda for today, I'm gonna do a small introduction about web development, which is not gonna take anything. Then we are gonna go to the core web application threats, the OWASP top 10. Then after that, we will deep dive about the authentication or authorization, session security, then application architecture, dependency security, and defensive measures and the production hardening. So for the first thing, I want you to scan the barcode and answer the following question about what technologies do you use in your web development. I need to open the questionnaire. No, not yet. How much in your bank account, so we could decide after that. Okay, we could go to the results.
The question asked is another one. It's about how confident we feel about our security.
Yeah, we could share the results even directly. We could keep it like this and this one. Okay, so we could stop this poll. We are done. So let's see. Some people voted with 3 or 4 from 5, which is something good. So the average is 3 and 4, which is actually a good percentage. So that's something good. Yeah. Let's jump to the next question. I can get this back to me again. And we could go to the next one. So now, let's go to the next question. Why there is 2 slides? Okay. Perfect. Okay. Oh, nice. AngularJS, Ori, SSO provider. I don't know about that. Java as a language, JavaScript, Node.js, Java, Node, React, MBM, Angular. Okay, there is no Python or PHP frameworks like Laravel or Django, yeah, MBM or White for frontend. Okay, I think it's enough, so we could stop. TypeScripting, yeah, it's nice. Oh, Python finally. Okay, so from the result, we could see that most of them related to JavaScript. There is generic like Java, but you didn't mention a framework itself. Yeah. And there is from Python, there is a Flask. It's also something nice. Vite and React frontend and TypeScript in general. Okay. So that's something nice. So now we know about the technologies that you use. I'm going to introduce maybe another technologies and try to do how to secure specific things in your technology that you use. So that's something good. We could now continue. If I find the cursor. Okay, let's hide this. I think no need for it for now. Okay, so let's continue. Now we are gonna talk about web applications. So what does it mean about web applications? It's generally a software application that is accessed through your web browser over a network rather than being installed locally on a device. So at its core, web development is typically divided into three main areas. The front end, which is also the main things that your web browser is reading, your CSS, your HTML5, and your JavaScript. And on the back end, which is the core on your web server, is your logic behind what to send and what to get and how to process this data with your database, and the infrastructure and deployment, which is the server and the network that hold your web backend and your database at the background of the service. Why the security matters in web applications? So why we care about securing our web applications? So let it just open for everyone and let the hackers enter and exit as they want. For simple reason, it's for data breaches. Now the information actually holds a value and it's actually cost a lot, and even we could say at much higher price than gold. So the data these days, you could sell it with a lot of money, and under it, there is also financial loss for the company that holds this data if there was a data breach. And for reputation damage. So imagine a big company names that sometimes on the news you hear that your bank or one of the most famous social network had a data breach. So what about my information, and what about the trust that I give to those organizations to hold my data inside them? So this is a nice thing that we should take care about. And for sure, the unauthorized access to your data. So you will find a data leak inside the dark web about your information, and also about people information, which is gonna be something bad for the developer of that web application for sure, and for the reputation of the company that holds that web server. Okay, so we are gonna speak about OWASP Top 10. For sure, as a developer, you maybe heard about the OWASP Top 10. So it's actually open web application security project. It was done by people just to securing the web application from the most common vulnerabilities, and each year they update those information categories about the newest vulnerabilities. So the most famous 10 is the first one, broken access control. Second one, security misconfiguration. The third, software supply chain. And the fourth, cryptographic failures. The five, which is actually interesting and the most familiar things under it, which is injection and insecure design, authentication failure, software data integrity failure, security logging and altering failures, and mishandling or exceptional conditions. This is the list of 2025, which is for the last year. So they update it each maybe a couple of years. The previous one was in 2021. So when they see that where the technology goes and what's now the modern type of attacks, they started to change on the list. But basically, this is actually some basic things that always on the list. From the QR, if you scan it, you could go to their website, and from there it's big documentation about how to secure a specific type of a framework, or if you have something related to information on a specific vulnerability, how to close it, how to deal with some forms attacks. It's going to be a nice documentation for you in the future about handling those things. Okay, so we will deep dive about category number 5, which is injection. It's the most famous, and I know that a lot of people knows about it, which is SQL injection. So the SQL injection is a type of cyber attack where an attacker injects malicious SQL code into a web application input field, and this tricks the application database into executing the command that the developer never intended, such as revealing sensitive information of data and deleting records or bypassing authentication. And now we will deep dive how it works. So at the background, we have our backend, which controls your database, and based on specific request, it's actually start to insert on the database, deleting, altering data. So when we, for example, do login in a login page, at the background, there is a select for the user from the user's table and searching for a specific username and get the full details about it and return it back, or do a check to authenticate that user to the login page or not. So sometimes if you are not hardening your web form, the attacker could start to do some changes or altering on that query. So the query actually start to type logic things, for example, and start to avoid those backend logic. So for example, if there is a user that is trying to log in with his credentials, and I don't know those credentials, so I could just take the form and start typing SQL injection, and I'm gonna bypass this login and maybe even go to all the users or even editing at the table. So this has come with the dangerous things. There is types of SQL injection. There is the classic one, which is like what we saw for just doing logic 1 = 1, which is then truncate, and it's gonna stop the query and returning back just true and bypass that web form logic. And you could use the concatenation and go with the union-based SQL queries, the most complicated. So in the union, you could go to another tables or even to another databases and select the data from them and return back with this data. And in this situation, it's going to return back to you with a result. If there is inside your web form something returning back the result directly to see it in your screen. But in the situations that there is nothing returned back, so you could run SQL injection, but you are not sure that this query that works or not, which is called the blind SQL injection. In this situation, you run or trying to do SQL injection in a web form or even a search form, or it's not just related to the web form, by the way. Maybe you, after login, try to do it on a search field or in another inserting field. And in this situation, nothing returned back, but at the background, you actually successfully altered or deleted or did something on that database. The most famous one is about doing sleep to check if it works or not, because as I told you that there is nothing returned on the blind SQL injection, but when you do a sleep, after refreshing the page for example, deep for 5 seconds, the refreshing is going to take those 5 seconds. So in this situation, you could just know that your query works at the background. And as you can see, the time-based, it's a sleep, and with this sleep, you could make the server take more time and ensure that your query is working at the background. The last one is called double blind, which is even nothing returned back as a timing or what you're doing at the background. There is no indication that your query works, but the database actually sends the data to attacker via DNS request or an HTTP request, which could complicate with another things or misconfiguration with your server. So to most used scan or most used tool to check your web application. So when you finish developing your web application, you could use a tool called SQL Map. SQL Map could check your web browser if it actually for a specific form, page, or for all the pages that you have, if it contains an SQL injection or not. And the last one is SQL injection payload list, which is GitHub repository that contains a lot of SQL query to do SQL injection. And you could just type it one by one, but it's not the efficient way to waste your time, because SQL Map do it for you and just give you a report about the result. Here we could go to a demo about SQL injection. So I prepared my Kali Linux machine, which is the most famous distribution on Linux related to cybersecurity. It contains a lot of tools for cybersecurity, and as a penetration tester, you should use a specific machine to execute this type of attacks. Okay, I'm gonna move my Kali Linux machine here. Maybe even, okay, I'm already inside the machine itself. What? Okay, I need to stop. Okay, let's do it like extend. Or duplicate, sorry. And I could see the screen with you now. Okay, that's great. There is already a web application that contains the vulnerabilities. It's capture the flag that introduced by OWASP themselves to do SQL injection. So this works in port 80. Yes, and it's called okay. Yes, there is already logged in test user, no need for that. Let's go to the logout. As you can see here, we have a web form that used for specific type to do attacks on it. and for sure it's vulnerable. They do it for learning purpose, so we are sure that this form is vulnerable. And for here, we have a login page. But I'm going to talk now about something else related to this login page. For a development, is it right to leave it like this and just try doing a brute force on it and try, for example, multiple times on this web form to log in? Could anyone tell me? What's the issue here? For sure there is an issue.
Can you repeat or rephrase the question?
For this situation here in the current web form for login, there is an issue. There is something missing in the page. What do you think is it? So in this situation, if I just left the form like it is and trying to log in multiple times, yeah, sure.
Recovering email or password?
No need to recover the email or the password. There is something actually comes here before the login page. Exactly. Yeah. Why it's important? Why we should put it on this web form? Did you ask yourself before why Google put it, or when you just go to your bank, they put it there? It's against spam and brute forcing, yeah. So I could, in this situation, use a tool and try multiple times to do a brute forcing for a specific user. After certain amount of time, I could log in. Or if I have a part of the credential and I want to continue the other part that I don't know, I'm going to send request until I actually find the right login credentials. So why I should put a CAPTCHA under the form? For just a specific reason, not to allow the attacker to repeat the attack multiple times. But is it enough? For sure, no. I could do another script that each time I'm gonna change my IP address, and I could, for a specific type of CAPTCHA, try to guess how that picture works and handling it and bypassing it. So not all of the CAPTCHA actually secure. So you need also to know about this thing. So if I go to my Kali Linux machine, I'm gonna see the tools that Kali provided inside the machine itself. So when I go here, there is a specific part for web applications. Credential exfiltration, credential access, and here, no, initial SQL map. So when I click on it, the tool is gonna start. This is SQL map. This is the page that when you just open the CLI of it, it's gonna kick. And it's gonna give you how to use the tool in an easy way, or you could just put the URL directly and it's gonna start the SQL injection test.
Could you increase the font size for the people in the
Yeah.
back?
Should be edit view, and yeah, because the shift here is not working. Zoom in or Control++. Okay, I think now it's good size. You could start with the injection difficulty, which is gonna start to bind more unions and make it more complicated, but let's go with the default one. And for enumeration, it's the basic. There is no need for the intermediate. And the tool itself is gonna start running on your web server, and after that, if it finds something, it's gonna tell you about the result. For now, it's gonna give you that it tested all the parameters, but it's not injectable because at the beginning, I think we didn't give it the form, so it should actually detect where should insert or post the data. Each time you could go to the manual of the tool and you could check two things that the tool, how to work, and after that using it. For now, you could see how you could get the help version, and you could go with the technique, retrieving all, and the banner, current user, and the passwords, tables. Okay. Or we could try it manually. Do you want to try it I think the form itself, as we can see here. Okay, here we could see something that you shouldn't see at all, which is the error that you are getting on the database, like the place of the PHP file that is containing all those operations. You could see the message related to H-access about the exception that the MySQL or the database exception that it triggered, and even you could see the query itself that is running on the server. So there is multiple information you could get from here itself. That's why when you go to the production, always try or close the alerts that you will see on the page of your browser. I saw a lot during my experience people lifting or moving to production, and they forget to close all the alerts and the return back failures to the production server. So for the web form, I could go to the same link that you could go to one of those websites and, for example, W3 School, and try to do the manual injection with your web server. I don't want to spend a lot of time to do it, but when you return back to SQL map, it should do it directly to you. Yes, but I need just to select the parameters to do it. SQL found slash u. Could use this one. Okay. Take the page. Okay, here it's actually tell you that you didn't actually declare the cookie. So when you visit directly the website, it's gonna do a session ID directly to you, which is, yes, I want to use this one. As you can see, it starts to do a filtering. It should not be that hard to do it, but okay. Try with another tool. There is another tool called Necto. Also on this page. You are welcome. Necto is a vulnerability scanner for web browsing. It's always free, and it's going to start to get information about the web browser vulnerabilities, and as you can see, it's going to start to get the data directly from there. So for now, it's actually detected that we are using Apache 2.4.56, Unix and OpenSSL 1.1.1, and PHP version 8.2.4. Just for those header of information, you could detect a lot, and for now, started to get a lot of vulnerabilities for this web application. So click jacking X-frame, cookie without HTTP, created without HTTP only. Session, various interesting information, and it could be vulnerable to the CVE. As you can see, it could actually tell you a lot of information and vulnerabilities about your web browser. So even if you didn't give it a page, just give it the domain, and it's going to crawl the whole website and get information related to it for you. So I don't waste a lot of time on doing the demo things. You could just know the tool, and after that, when you saw, go to the manual of the tool, and you could try to use it, or even YouTube. So on YouTube, you could just put the tool name, and it's gonna give you more information about how to use it. So let's return back to the oops. extent. No, it's not this page. Okay. So how to prevent SQL injection? So we saw the part that, yeah, even if it's not showing on the form, but we could see that depends on your technology used for developing your website or the database engine used. So if you are using SQL MySQL, it's not like Postgres SQL, depends about the engine itself, and how to protect it from your technology backend used in your application. So who's actually using language itself and without any framework to develop a website? Oh, guys, you are too late, but as a startup, so when you start web developing, yeah, it's something good, but after that you need to jump to frameworks. It's going to be much better to handle the security things. So for example, the best framework for PHP, it's Laravel. I used Laravel for several projects, and it's really nice to handle the basic things for you. It used the MVC model view controller, and it's actually could handle the security things in a nice way. And even if your Laravel framework is old, I know some websites still running old Laravel framework, and until now it's secure without vulnerabilities, which is something really great. And also for Python, you could go with Django. It's also really good, and it has the same principle, MVC or MV template, they call it, and also it's actually secure by default. And that's why here use a framework, and in the framework just stick with the classes used for it. So don't start to write code related to PHP or to Python, just like a spaghetti thing inside your framework. Use the things that they tell you inside the documentation to use to handle, for example, the logic of your web app. Anyone has a question here? Okay. Input validation. So for the basic things at the back, they use, for example, PHP or Python without any framework. They could do a simple validation just to handle those things. So you could just use regular expressions to filter, not to input, for example, quotations or the marks that could actually close your select and start to do SQL injection inside your web form. So this is the two things. And the last one is the least privilege of database account. As you know, the database itself has an account with specific privileges. Normally, those privileges actually could be fully related to the database. You could insert, create, delete, altering data, which is sometimes for your web application, no need to use all of them. So for example, I don't need to delete the data, so you could just give it select and alter without a delete. So you could control this thing. So if one of the days your web application was vulnerable, at least the account or used by operating system for running your database is gonna protect a little bit of the damage that attacker could doing. So this is also how you prevent that SQL injection. You actually disable detailed database errors. So as you see, when I run the demo, directly it showed you the SQL scripting and where was your error in changing the query, and throw that exception, which is in the production environment, you should definitely hide, not to show it to public users. And the second one is to use web application firewall, WAF solution. Did you hear about a WAF solution, or did you use one before inside your organization or for one of your clients? Do you know that we actually daily go to a WAF solution that filter our usage in most websites that we visit? For example, Cloudflare. Sometimes we are browsing a website. It's going to redirect you to a Cloudflare to check for denial of service, and if you are a human, and after that, returning back to you to the page that you requested. Did you saw before that Cloudflare? Yes, so Cloudflare is they providing a solutions, and one of them is a WAF solution on the cloud. So the traffic goes to their web servers, and after that, it's going to return back to your web server filtered. For sure, it's also expensive. The last one is keeping dependencies updated. And this is an important thing. When we develop a web application, we do something called set and forget. Yeah, let it take 5 years, no updating or even no maintenance for that web application. You know, not just the hardware need to be maintained, even your software. So when the most important thing in your development life cycle, if you are working in agile development, is the maintenance. And we don't do a maintenance for our web applications. So when you actually sell the client the application, I don't think he's going to return back to you if the web application works fine after that. So it's going to, with the time, expanding or showing vulnerabilities on outdated dependencies. So always keep with your client, for example, a maintenance period. So after 6-10 months or even after years, to do a maintenance for your web application and update the dependencies and packages inside it. Okay, the second one is cross-site scripting. Did you hear about cross-site scripting? For sure, it's also one of the bad things that could attacker do to your web server. So cross-site scripting is a security vulnerability where an attacker injects malicious script, usually JavaScript, but you could also insert HTML, but for HTML, it's not going to do the damage. The most actually bad things was the JavaScript to start the attacker do bad things on your web server. And unlike SQL injection, the target is here not the database. The target is your client or the web browser of the end user. So the browser has no way to know that the script is untrusted, and it will execute it because it appears to come from a trusted source, which is your website. So how it works? It also works on the same principle like SQL injection in web forms. So you have your web forms, and you're going to start, for example, here we have the script alert hacked script. And this is going to trigger an alert in JavaScript in your browser. When you just click login, it's going to pop up at the top that you actually have alert JavaScript triggered from nowhere, which is related to that execution happened on your web browser. So the victim visits the page, and their browser downloads the script along with the rest of the site content, and the payload that runs on the victim browser can now steal the victim session cookies, redirect them to a fake sites, or perform actions on their behalf. So why it's dangerous? So imagine if I could, at the same web form, save a script to take a cookie session, and after that, put it inside that database. And when a certain user log in to the database and start to execute that saved JavaScript on his browser, he could actually take access to the user account, for example, and maybe stealing money from his bank account and doing other things, depends about the web browser capabilities. So that is why you should take care about what you running inside your web browser when you go to websites that you untrusted. Sometimes, for example, Google Chrome trigger for you that there is something unsafe about this page. Do you want to return back or continue visiting that web page? One of them could be that there is a malicious JavaScript is gonna run if you visit this web page. The third one is key logging. So you could actually put a script as a key logger. So everything you type on your on the same website, or even sometimes when you exit to another website, it's going to be sent to the attacker. For example, typing a password or a message or anything, it's going to be sent directly to that attacker. And the main type of cross-site scripting, the stored cross-site scripting, as I told you, you could save it on a database or comment field inside the code or the user profile itself, and then it's going to be executed on all the users that visit that web page. So every person that reads that web page, the cookie session will be sent to the attacker itself. There is the second type, which is reflected cross-site scripting, which is non-persistent. The script is reflected of the web server to the victim. It is not stored. It passed the through request, usually using a URL parameter or a form submission, which is sometimes even you could use the the URL itself to put your injection inside it based on a parameter at the top, and that parameter could you forget it and you didn't filter the data that is you sent by a post request to that web server, and in this situation is going to be reflected on the browser. And the last one is document object model based cross-site scripting. So when you actually deal with front-end framework like React or Vue.js, you install an NPM package, but you don't know the source where that NPM package was. So there is an issue with your front-end, and that NPM package is going to solve it for you. You don't see who developed that NPM package or if it tested before or not. You just, it's the one thing that I need to fix an issue with my front end. So you just install the NPM package, and inside that NPM package, there is a malicious code, which could also reflect the cross-site scripting inside your web application. So here there is a message. I hope you are happy with your new NPM package. Don't install NPM package that you don't know the source of it or if it's actually trusted or not. Now, the most common vulnerabilities, if you go to hackernews.com, it's related to NPM packages. So after that, they discovered that someone developed an NPM package, and when you install it deploy it in your web browser or deploy it on your web application, with years, it's going to be containing malicious code or even opening a vulnerability inside your web application. We have a demo for cross-site scripting. It's the same website for testing. Okay, the Kani machine. Okay, let's return back to the. This one I think is gonna work because it's basic thing. I've put a header inside the form for HTML propose. Let's see, any reflection? Okay, we could go here. Security cross-site scripting, reflected first, DNS. Let's see this one. Why it's not reflecting anything? I don't see anything on the page. Okay, reflect. Cross-site scripting. Maybe this one. Maybe it could reflect here. Something reflected. Okay, let's try to do
There's an R missing in the second alert tag.
Which one should work though?
yeah.
H1 will probably work.
The H1, let's see.
Sound alert.
No, it's typing it.
Well, it's just slide. If you look in the HTML, it's probably H1.
Maybe doing it. And H1. Closing the form.
Excuse me, before you write the
It's not.
head,
Yes, I'm trying to do.
so
DOM-based web storage password generator HTML document viewer. That's for PDF propose. Okay, for robots.txt. Why not to do? The good thing about the W3 school contains everything and it's tested correctly, so I could just go for W3 school. can see that this quiz, they don't have even cited tutorial. Okay, unfortunately I cannot find any web form to test on it. See this? Okay. Yeah, now it works. As you can see, the H1 works at the browser, so if I just try to do alert, okay. Yeah, as you can see, it's reflecting. So when I did an alert for JavaScript, it gave me an congratulations, you executed an alert, and it's here. So you can go to the advanced level, so this one is passed. So when you saw that for this web browser here, it reflects cross-site scripting, and it's just a search, not a login page, but you could do a lot of things inside it, so it works as should it. So it's for time. We have about 30 minutes. Let's jump again to the slide. Oh, not the from beginning. Okay. Okay. So how to prevent the cross-site scripting? It shares things with the SQL injection. So you could just do a validation, which is always you need to clear from both the server side and the client side. Even for SQL injection, you need to do the validation from both sides. Do you know the front end, why we do it also from the front end side to do a validation? You need always to do a cross check. I know that for JavaScript, you could just stop the JavaScript itself, and it's going to then send everything to the web server, and then it's going to handle it. But the safe side, always to do it on both sides. If you want to do filtering with specific things or for a specific regular expression, filter on the server side and on the user side. And the next category is for broken access control, which is the server-side request forgery. It's an security vulnerability that allows the attacker to induce a server-side application to make HTTP request and an arbitrary domain to the attacker chosen. So with the SSRF attack, you could actually do things to the other servers near your web browsing, your web application server. So in this situation, you could do a scan to the nearby or internal network, and it's going to be a attack surface to, or like a proxy to attack your current servers inside your network. Okay, and it's gonna, for example, here providing example login.png, and the attacker could provide an internal information to, for example, localhost admin or configuration on another web on another server inside your network. So the server is acting as a proxy for the attacker to fetch the internal resources that is normally protected by a firewall or not accessible from the outside world. So the leak is the server return the content of the internal resources back to the attacker, and it's going to affect on you. So it's extremely dangerous for cloud providers like AWS and Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud, because from your web application that is vulnerable to the cross-site request forgery to access another servers inside your network. So that's why you need to take care about it. It's actually target the internal admin panels, the cloud metadata, database ports, local files. And that's why you need to close always protocols that it's not gonna be something good to allow them. For example, file -- and access etc password, and for example, FTP protocol. Is it good to allow FTP protocol from outside the web server to be accessible? Or even if you want to do an SSH to manage your web server, is it something good to allow it accessible from outside? What do you think about this? Normally, how do you access your web server for maintenance, for example? You don't access your web browser? No, come on. From outside.
Yeah, so private keys. You connect to a proxy. Like you connect to your internal VPN and then connect to the SSH.
That's the right way.
That's the way.
Never allow SSH access from outside or doing an FTP server or even secure FTP from outside. Always, it should be from your internal network. That's a rule that you need to take care about it. If you are, for actually specific reason that you don't have a VPN to access internal network, make ACL or access control list to your web browser to be accessed from specific public IP addresses. Always take care about this. For the demo, I don't think that web browser, after we saw that, is going to run even this demo one, so we could even skip it because there is no time. But you could see multiple actually videos about how it's actually exploitable or this actually attack could be done. So to prevent it from the network protection, as I told you that you need to disable, for example, FTP, file, and Gopher protocols from outside. You need to do a listing for specific domains or IP addresses. And inside your network, you need to do a segmentation. Do you know what network segmentation means? Simply VLANs. It's not a good thing to put your web browser with your backup server, with your database server inside the same network. Do you know why?
If one server gets compromised, it's going to compromise.
Exactly. So if I accessed one server, it's going to be a piece of cake to access all the servers at the same VLAN or at the same network. That's why we need to do something called separation inside your network. And in this situation, we separate the network to VLANs. And the most important part of the VLANs is the DMZ, demilitarized zone, which we put the servers that need to be accessed from the internet. So we call it a DMZ zone. It contains your public IP addresses, and at the same time, this is the critical attack surface point to your network. That's why you need to take care about the DMZ zone specifically. Okay. And also there is a rule that if the communication came a server from inside your network, don't trust it without an authentication. So you think that you received a request from internal IP address and everything should be fine. No, it could be that your web browser is compromised and it's speaking with another servers internally. Okay. The second attack is directory traversal. Did you hear about directory traversal before? It happens, and the most actually things that could be do it is your hosting server. For example, Apache server could for sometimes contains a vulnerability that exposed with time to do a directory traversal. Or sometimes it could be a bad privilege by you. In Linux, if you give the privilege with 777 for a specific folder, do you know what 777 could do? chmod 777.
Access for everyone.
It's full for access for everyone. So in this situation, if you give it to your Apache www folder and even to the other folders outside, your attacker could actually go anywhere in your web browser, and even is going to access things or files that he should not access. Never use 777 privilege. It's actually related each number of them about who's the owner and the group and the execution level that should be given to this folder or for specific group or user. How do you do directory traversal? It's just // So for example, when I go to a specific web browser, I try to access with the // each time I return back to the previous directory and try to have access it or not. Okay, so let's continue. Yeah. Okay. And you could see that from here, it's actually, for example, displaying things that should not be accessed. For example, the images folder. Viewing the etc passwd in your Linux. Do you know what that contains, the etc/passwd? What that file contain on Linux?
All the users.
All the users, yeah. So you could see the list of the users inside it. What about the shadow? It contains the password but hashed and salted. So if he could access one of those, he could simply gain access with full root to your server. Okay, so we see why it's dangerous, why I should actually prevent directory traversal. Not to make anyone go outside your web application and explore your fancy web server, or get actually access to database credentials stored in a configuration file, or read a sensitive operating system data, like for example the SSH private or public key or password hashes inside it, gain remote access to that server, and overwriting executable files. For demo, no, we don't have time to run a demo, so we could skip. So the next one is about broke access control and the directory traversal, how to prevent it. So how do we prevent directory traversal attack? The first one is to, as I told you, give the right privilege for your web server files and do an input validation inside your URL. Choose chroot jail containers. Basically using Docker containers. Do you use your in production Docker containers? And that's the right thing. If you don't use a Docker container inside your, not just a web browser or for a specific application, it's going to be hard for you for maintaining it. So for example, the best practice in your web development on the production, I separate a Docker container for the backend, Docker container for the database, and another Docker container for your front-end framework. If you want, decided to do specific maintenance for one of them, no need to make your whole web server go down. So even if you have a mobile app that also trigger on your backend API, so you just fix the thing that need to be updated or do the fixes on it. So your front end, go to your front-end Docker container. You could run the new one directly and turn off the one with the old update, and it's gonna manage everything. And you could go even with the highest level, which is Kubernetes, and it's gonna even do something much better than Docker. If there is a high level of users and there is a push on your web server, it's going to start to give more cores and do more containers to get the high number of the user that accessing that website. And it's going to make your web server run in a much better way without any downtime. Okay, so we could go to insecure file uploads. So I like this one. For insecure file uploads, imagine that you need to upload a picture in a specific website. For uploading a picture, it's of course going to be a JPEG or with a specific extension to do that. So we go to that upload, and we could actually bypass it and upload a web shell inside that upload. Then your server, the whole server, is going to be compromised. And to just secure it, you could do double extension check or null byte injection and MIMB type spoofing to polyglot file, which is actually critical. I always use that during penetration testing, and I think I have the right demo for it. Yes. As you can see here, I could change the, put a shell inside an PNG image and upload it to the web server, and it's going to be executed. And I could do another thing, which is called exif data, and insert inside the picture comment that contains the script that I want. With this one, the last one, I could actually maybe do hack to a lot of web servers using it, just with this command. Yes. And do you know about exif tool? What do we use it? It's for digital forensic investigation. It contains about information about your image. So when you take a picture, for example, for a place, it could actually contains information about the GPS information about your device. So sometimes you could send a picture for someone and he could know that you have an iPhone 17 Pro Max. How could he know it? It's from the exact information inside your image. I could use the same image to execute a shellcode inside your web browser. And it's going to be just put it inside the comment and I will upload it to your web browser and it's going to be executed. I think this demo is going to be fast. I hope. Okay. It's called upload or test, I think. Yes. And there is upload.php. Here we have a upload for anything or for specific thing. It's just select an image. But I'm not going to upload an image. I have something here, a script called c99.php. This script could control the whole web browser or control the whole web server with this shell. So I could just upload it, open, and try to upload it. As you can see, it's uploaded successfully, and here is the path for that shell. I click on it. Now it's executed on the web server. And this is my C99 shell. It's one of the most famous shell scripts in PHP to do things that controlling the server by a web browser. So here I could see the current directory. I could jump to outside directories inside it. I could delete files. I could create a new files. I could execute a command. So I could go here for a specific directory. And I could go, for example, for OPT. I could delete files. Or I could upload files. I could run, execute a command directly, which is like ping 8.8.8.8, and it's going to be executed. Or the other way to do it is concatenation. I also do this thing. Let's open the C99 shell. Okay, I could do concatenation, cat.
Could you again increase
The size, okay. You are welcome. Okay, you should learn this one. So sometimes there is in a web browser detect by the extension of the file. So if it's not a JPEG, it's not gonna upload it. But I could put a file inside another file on the footer of it. This technique is really powerful. So I could, for example, cat a text file, which is a.txt, and I could put it inside an image. And I will call it, I don't maybe have an image here, but xax.jpg. Yeah, there is for sure there is both are not created, but let's imagine that we have both of them. I could download a picture from the internet and I could just put a text file. I could move that text file inside the picture and I could upload it to the web server and it's going to be inserted inside it. Except about the web browser itself, if it handles that files correct. So sometimes the web browser could read the first bytes from the file header and know what the file type. but this actually is in the footer, so it's gonna pass. How do I protect myself from this specific type of attacks? There is a library. It depends about how do you develop your application. Is it a framework? For example, in Python, there is a one specifically to check the whole file from the header to the footer with all the content that contain it. It's gonna turn it to a bytecode and read if it's really a image or it's a shellcode. Let's return back. We don't have time. Okay. So this is related to upload files. How do you also secure the authentication, authorization, and session security about your users? When you you have a web application that contains creating or registration to create users, I always prefer to have multi-factor authentication for your users. For example, banking account or banking web application is going to contain a multi-factor authentication MFA for the web browser. Here, you could go to integrate Google Authenticator app with the Django. So it's free. Did you use the Google Authenticator before? Or for sure, Microsoft Authenticator also works with it. For sure, you are using it to access your company mail, right? You could use it for free with your Django to just make the right user access with two-factor authentication beside the password that he have. Or you could also go with SMS, but it's expensive. Some companies pay about 2 cents for each message. For example, banks. Sometimes you sign to your bank that they will charge you for each message about 2 cents for receiving them. It's not the best way. I think authentication with Google Authenticator, it's free, and I recommend to use this one. Okay, the CAPTCHA also is important for doing that. Also, I saw one of the situations during my experience that there is a website that each time you do a registration, it's going to send you SMS message to your phone, and it's going to verify that you are having that phone number. Do you know the attacker, what he did? When you actually have a service for SMS, at the end of the month or after the certain period, the contract you do with the provider, you will have the bill, right? Did you use anyone before SMS service? Okay. So at the end of the month, how much your usage, it's like your electricity bill, you will receive a bill that contains the number of how much you will pay based on that service. That person received a bill maybe about 1 million euro, and his website does not even cost about 10,000 euros. So why do you think that issue happened? Because he didn't put CAPTCHA inside at the end of the login page. The attacker started to use repeater, and he put it fake numbers or even phone numbers for people inside the whole Europe Union or even Italy. And he started to send the form multiple times, and each time with a different number. At the end of the month, that person actually got crazy, and he started to communicate, please just reduce the bill cost. There was an issue to do that. They reduced a little bit, maybe 20%, but it was a loss for him. His website and his web server does not cost 20,000 euros. and he paid about 1 million. And the electricity is gone, and the laptop is turned off because it was not charging. That's something nice. Yeah, but exactly at 8, so it was the right moment to turn off the laptop. And I could actually just cover the things maybe that I didn't cover by myself. For example, from the situations that we saw is about frameworks and CMS. Do you know what's the difference between a CMS and a framework? Did you hear about WordPress before and Joomla and those things? Yeah. What do you think the best, using CMS or framework? What?
It depends on the client.
It depends about the client and about the specific thing needed from a web application. So, for example, banking web application should be covered with the CMS or with the framework? Framework, because it's much secure. Do you know that WordPress, if you are actually just, because WordPress is easy to develop, and it's just a template that you take it from a third-party developed with the whole design, and you put that inside your WordPress CMS. It's easy to develop, but at the same time, it's risky. So if you are doing a blog, for example, what you are cooking and the things in your life, and for example, posting about things about weather, yeah, CMS could be a good thing about it. But something risky, like bank account, for sure you are not going to use something like this. You are going to maybe use Java Spring framework, or you could go with most actually secure things like PHP, Laravel. So always think about which technology should be used inside your application. I hope that I covered everything, and I'm sorry about the demos that take a lot of time and it didn't work. I tested them before, but you know, it was maybe weeks. I didn't have time to review them, and it actually happens. But everything nowadays is covered on the internet. So if you are interested about specific topic that I didn't cover in a right way, just search on the internet, and it's going to be a right way to know more about it. Thank you so much, and hope to see you in the upcoming events, and have a nice evening. Bye, dude.